devote as much time possible to citizen direct action and direct response. So I'm just going to have a 15, 20-minute kind of intro warm-up act for Father Vitale here. And as a result of that, this is going to be just skipping stones. I'm going to talk briefly about 3 subjects in this amount of time. First, the plumbing of StratCom, what it does and why. Second, why it ended up being that way and why it looks the way it does today, and why space dominance is a bipartisan type of strategy, something that President Obama has a little bit more problem reconciling than he might otherwise have. And then third, I'm going to end up with just a little bit of talk about why moving to a real multilateral peaceful use of space might be slightly harder than simply waiting until the United States is tired of building empires. There's a little bit more problem in the way all nations consider space. We in the peace community like to talk about the commons, and the environmental community, other communities like to talk about the commons. But few humans are really used to the idea of the commons. And so consequently, even without a typical superpower struggle or a sole hyperpower like the United States being around, you don't always get to a magical world of love and sharing and peace and space. This is going to be a long struggle, not only of our own lifetimes, but several lifetimes to come. And hopefully we'll talk today, after I speak, Father Vitale will speak about the practical role to be played in the peace community. And he'll give you this idea that this is not just a onesie-twosie, get busted, address the war machine. This is a lifelong occupation and a lifelong struggle. But it's also very enlightening. It's a lot of fun. And I hope that we can encourage you a little bit on that front. Now, those of you who've been in Omaha for a long time probably know a lot about the Strategic Air Command. But StratCom, as we know it today, is a very, very different beast and a lot bigger animal than many of you might be familiar with. Up here are 8 of its main missions these days, and these constitute a lot more than just watching over nuclear weapons. We've got the rather frighteningly named Global Strike, which means exactly what it says it means. When someone needs to manage a strike anywhere on the planet in a short period of time, they call on StratCom, and this particular organization inside StratCom is based on that and built on that. Space is partially the function of the Air Force Space Command at Peterson Air Force Base in Colorado Springs, but that Air Force Space Command answers to StratCom. Global network operations means we run the computer networks that make the whole things go, and this all is run out of StratCom. Missile defense, partially the job again of Air Force Space Command. All those missile defense sites are run from StratCom. So when there's arguments about Czech Republic and Poland having new missile systems, that's an argument that involves StratCom. When we talk about the missile defense that's based on ships, the one ship-based system that shot down a satellite last March, all that stuff is run out of StratCom. Intelligence and surveillance, the entire global intelligence infrastructure, run through StratCom. I will mention just as an aside that the 2 organizations that are best known here are the nation's 2 largest intelligence agencies, the National Reconnaissance Office and the National Security Agency. Notice that the CIA is not mentioned here. The CIA is small potatoes. It is a tiny intelligence agency compared to the 2 major intelligence agencies that deal with StratCom. Weapons of mass destruction. Of course, StratCom manages these, but they don't talk about it like that. When they say WMD, they mean StratCom's the organization that watches everybody else's WMD, because our WMD, of course, is good WMD, but theirs is icky WMD. Network warfare, we'll talk about that a little bit. The Cyber Command you might have heard of. This is when computers fight each other. That's all done through StratCom. And finally, joint information operations. This is the way that military organizations use space and use computer warfare to implement full spectrum dominance, full spectrum war. All of this is run through STRATCOM. Now, some of you may have seen Tim's and Nebraska's for Peace excellent little comic book. There's copies over there for anybody who hasn't seen it. And it might give you the idea that when George Bush called for spying on everybody's email and phone calls, that was all done directly through STRATCOM. Or when somebody comes up with a new idea for missile defense, that's all STRATCOM's baby. Well, yes and no. There is, you know, a monitoring agency, the NSA, probably everybody's heard of it, that reports to the Director of National Intelligence and then to the President. They don't report to STRATCOM directly. However, anytime electronic surveillance is used in a mission of war, it becomes the duty, first and foremost, of the organization here in Omaha, off at Air Force Base, STRATCOM, to oversee this stuff. And so, in essence, 1/3 of the NSA, the organization, is a sub-agency called the Central Security Service, and it's all made up of uniformed military people, and those are the people that staff the global bases around that intercept your phone calls and email. Everyone employed by the Central Security Service reports to STRATCOM. So what we're seeing in all these different agencies is that, yes, there is a civilian leadership out there that is separate from the Joint Chiefs of Staff and separate from STRATCOM. But at the end of the day, if it has anything to do with military management, STRATCOM is going to oversee it. Now, it didn't just magically happen that everything came to Omaha on its own accord. Those of you who know anything about, have been involved in anti-nuclear movements and whatnot, have probably heard it said that, you know, the old nuclear strategic triad, 3 legs, involved land-based missiles with nuclear warheads on top of them, long-range bombers, bomber planes that would carry nuclear weapons, and long-range missiles that were based at sea on board submarines that would also, you know, shoot across a continent to start a nuclear war. In the old days, that was considered the nuclear triad. But in 2002, Donald Rumsfeld said, no, that's all old age thinking. We have a new kind of triad now. Part 1 of the triad is offensive weapons. Nuclear weapons and conventional weapons. Anything we use offensively. And you notice something careful here. When you lump nuclear weapons and conventional weapons together, it makes that all the more easy and all the more feasible to consider using nuclear weapons. The second leg of the triad was defensive weapons. Donald Rumsfeld said that missile defense and all these things were weapons that were only used defensively. We in the peace community would have a real big quibble with that kind of language, but we'll let him have his little say for now. And the third leg of that triad was infrastructure, communications infrastructure and intelligence infrastructure. And Rumsfeld said, if we believe that we're going to have a unified vision of war, then all those 3 legs of the new triad, which includes space as a theater of war, offensive weapons, defensive weapons, and infrastructure, all need to be controlled out of one place. Consequently, Colorado Springs used to be the home of something called the U.S. Space Command. And that was supposed to be the one place you went to get your weapons into space and to conduct war from space. All of a sudden in 2002, U.S. Space Command got dissolved and everything went to Offutt.